VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And friends, thank you for joining us on Crosstalk, coming your way from VCY America. And we've got a double header today. First, a flurry of reports coming out from the Middle East as it pertains to Iran, Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Straits of Hormuz, and the United States. The second day of talks in Geneva, Switzerland just concluded, and Fox News is reporting that the Treasury Secretary announced that the Trump administration has temporarily authorized the production, delivery, and sale of Iranian oil under a 60-day license. We'll give you an update on happenings in the Middle East region, as well as the continued warring that's going on between Israel and Hezbollah. Also today, an update on what's going on with the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence. I mean, there is great effort underway to present AI with God-like powers and Jesus-level miracles. One even hinted about giving birth to a deity. AI is becoming so sophisticated that even experts are having a hard time discerning truth from deception. Where is this all going? Back in our studio today, Dr. Richard Schmidt, pastor of the Union Grove Baptist Church and founder of Prophecy Focus Ministries, the weekly TV program Prophecy Focus, you'll see at vcy.tv. 32 years of law enforcement, including that of acting sheriff of the Milwaukee County, has authored a number of books. We just spoke with him a week ago, but certainly one particular to today's topic, artificial intelligence, transhumanism, and the de-evolution of democracy. And Pastor Schmidt, thanks for joining us again today.
Well, you nailed a lot of things already when we're talking about truth and deception that are taking place. And based on our topics today, we've got a lot to discuss.
We do. And so last week we invited you to come on the program and talk about artificial intelligence. And so many things broke in the Middle East. We said, let's shift our topic and talk about that. And so we plan to talk fully about AI today. And then all of a sudden there's a lot of things happening in the Middle East again. So we're going to just talk here at the first segment pertaining to Israel and the Middle East. We'll hit AI a bit later. But let's, if you could get us caught up to date. We know Vice President Vance is over in Switzerland at this time. Meetings wrapped up just a short while ago, and the word is that Iran's going to be allowed to produce, deliver, sell some of this oil as well. Give us your assessment of what's taking place.
Well, again, there's a whole lot of information that's been coming out over the last couple of days, and me and you actually been doing some texting on these issues. But at the bottom line, at least at this point, appears that they allegedly settled on 4 different concepts, or at least advanced 4 different ideas. The first one, which you just mentioned, is being Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz opening up so that some of this Iranian oil will be able to get out to the countries that are in need of it. Again, America is not dependent on that particular oil source, but many other countries, this has been a huge setback for them. And if indeed the Strait of Hormuz opens up and the oil begins to flow the way they are stating it will, then many of these countries will be helped.
And let me just interrupt for just a moment here. So Strait of Hormuz, we're told it's all wide open, and then we have Iran saying, no, we're shutting it down. President Trump saying, no, we're going to take control of it. If you try and shut this down, you cannot charge any fees for it. And there's been this back and forth. Are they open at this time?
Well, it appears they're open. But again, what you said is really it's so hard, and so many commentators, the news sources, are back and forth on this. Yesterday, I don't know, I think at least 3 different times I got 3 different viewpoints within a few hours. So it appears it's open, but again, Iran is saying there are going to be tolls. Then you have a different news agency from Iran saying there's not going to be. President Trump even said if he needs to, he's going to take it over and charge tolls. So you've got this constant conflict. The bottom line, though, does appear, based on the mapping that takes place, and there are satellite images, of course, that you can watch, there are ships that are getting through the Strait of Hormuz. Is it up to the full, let's say, complement that they want? I would state the answer is no. And one of the issues is still they're talking about the mine issues, so they've got to be very careful in how they're navigating those waters. So, again, people are scared. I would think that are in the Strait of Hormuz. There was a hit on one of the ships yesterday. that was hit by a missile. So these things are dynamic, and they're literally changing minute by minute.
And it seems, too, even the leadership, I mean, we have the Ayatollahs, he's saying, yes, we're agreeing to these talks, and yet he has come up with some strong words against President Trump and President Trump against Iran, and just saying, well, if this doesn't work, we're going to, start bombing again. Are we really dealing with the Ayatollah? Do we know that yet?
Well, again, that's one of another big issue. You see that, J.D. Vance, when he was in Switzerland, and who the individuals are that they're discussing things with, they rarely name who the actual negotiators are. We've seen this once about a week ago. One of the heads of the Iranian parliament was actually named. But this is another thing. It's the leadership. The names aren't out there. The people aren't out there who specifically they represent isn't out there. So, again, you keep having this back and forth, and the American public is getting certain things. And I think the biggest thing now that America and Israel, one of our great allies, is that there's a lot of rhetoric coming out now where Israel has not been part of these negotiations, even though they're a major player in what's been taking place in the nuclear threats from Iran and, of course, the terrorism that exists. So all this is still open-ended.
And so not only Israel having some questions about the so-called deal that's been advancing and the negotiations going on, but I'm also reading that there are a number of other Arab nations that are also standing in opposition to this as well, because they're being implicated in what's going to happen there and what powers Iran's going to have as well.
Yeah, the Gulf states, many of the Arab states, as you mentioned, there's this conflict because Iran has been shooting missiles at many of them. There's been severe damage done in some of these other countries, Arab countries, Islamic countries. So there's this back and forth issue with Iran as well. The second major point, though, that is being discussed at the Switzerland talks was a literal regional ceasefire. So the Strait of Hormuz opening up was number one. Number two was to getting a complete ceasefire within the Middle East. And when you talk about these Arab states, they don't want obviously to be hit upon. Iran doesn't want to be hit. But the other big factor in all of this alleged regional ceasefire is Lebanon.
Right. And on that issue, President Trump has been critical of Israel here just late last week, talking about how Israel's been just over-responding to Hezbollah, and he even suggested that Syria would do a better job than Israel in bringing, taking charge and taking, rooting out Hezbollah. And now the Syrian president said, no, we're rejecting that idea. They don't want to do that. So let's comment about, because how do we invoke a full region-wide ceasefire when you've got Hezbollah continue to come after Israel? Israel said, we are going to respond. We will defend ourselves.
And this is where it really gets bizarre, because yesterday President Trump took he was basically telling Israel to stand down, don't attack Hezbollah. And now, late yesterday, I'm reading a news clip from the president's literal statement from him that made this statement to Iran. If Hezbollah attacks Israel, we're going to attack Iran. I about fell out of my chair when I read that one. So it's like, okay, 1 minute the President Trump is saying, listen, Israel, back off, don't be so harsh. Don't fight. And now he's saying if Hezbollah, which is the terrorist organization in Lebanon, if indeed they attack Israel, well, then America will attack Iran and attack them hard. That statement caused, allegedly, the Iranians to walk out of the Switzerland talks, and basically J.D. Vance had a chat with the Iranians and said, listen, if you're going to talk about supporting Hezbollah and Lebanon, you're going to expect that the president's going to make a response to that. So he supposedly got them calmed down, and they finished up their meeting this morning.
Let's bring another name into all of this, Lindsey Graham. And we understand that he met with President Trump over the weekend. And I saw a headline yesterday in the Washington Times. Here's a headline. We'll have you comment on Lindsey Graham. Senator Lindsey Graham predicts diplomatic talks with Iran will fail. He's skeptical of this idea.
Yeah, and Lindsey Graham, of course, he's a strong conservative individual. it's apparent that him and President Trump have a good relationship. Well, I think Lindsey Graham would think more along the lines that me and you would as conservative Christians. And Lindsey Graham is basically trying to make the president understand maybe a little bit more about the importance of Israel being an ally, being a biblical entity that we should be supporting. So I think he spent 4.5 hours with him, according to media reports. And we've seen a change from where President Trump was really being quite nasty towards Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel itself. And now all of a sudden, again, late yesterday, he makes a statement, if Hezbollah comes after Israel, I'm going to bomb Iran. So it appears that some of this anti-Israel rhetoric, maybe it's going to cease now, maybe.
Yeah, let me ask, as a pastor, because you wear many hats here, as a pastor, how important is it that we be praying for President Trump? We be praying for godly advisors who cross his path?
Right. Well, of course, the Bible admonishes us in 2 Timothy that we're to pray for those in authority. And, of course, the president certainly has a major piece of authority in our country. So he said, pray for kings, pray for rulers, pray for all of those in authority. And here's what the repercussions of that are. The good repercussions are, he says, if you'll pray for them, pray for them to so that we can have peace and that the gospel can go forward. So there's two benefits of praying for our leaders: peacefulness for God's people and the spread of the gospel.
One other aspect here, I saw an interesting story from All Israel News that Israel killed a Hamas sniper. This is at the other end of the country, a Hamas sniper who also worked as an Al Jazeera journalist in Gaza. Now, Israel had warned us about Hamas embedding themselves into the media. Here we go again.
Yeah, and again, like you say, it's nothing new. The journalists, of course, they play a dual role. They're supporting the terrorist group as well as getting news out. You've seen the same with the United Nations. A massive number of UN workers were doing the same thing. They come in, they're actually Hamas operatives, but they're also working with the United Nations. So you've got that dual problem of, yes, they're getting news, yes, they're doing some United Nations work, but way down deep, they're Hamas terrorists.
So we're just 45 seconds from the break. We're going to shift gears to artificial intelligence right after the break. What else do you want our listeners to know concerning this Middle East aspect here?
All right, so the four key things were open up Hormuz, which appears to at least be in process, the regional ceasefire, which is almost in place except for Lebanon, the bringing in of the International Atomic Energy Agency to do inspections. Again, J.D. Vance said it's going to happen. However, Fars News Agency, which I just read a few minutes ago, said, no, that's not on the table, not going to happen. And then finally, setting up technical meetings between the United States, Iran, Qatar, Pakistan, but no Israel.
Wow. Pastor Richard Schmidt with us here today, pastor of Union Grove Baptist Church and founder of Prophecy Focus Ministries. Quick break here, friends, and yes, we're going to shift gears, bringing up the topic of artificial intelligence. It's amazing where this is going. And by the way, Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, stepping down as well. Very interesting development there taking place in the UK. This is Crosstalk on VCY America.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, creation author with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, was Genesis written as poetry?
No, it wasn't, Chris, but this has been a favorite claim of liberals, subtly indicating that Genesis was a work of art and not meant to be taken as literal history. But this has been shown to be false. At the Institute for Creation Research, we've investigated this claim. It was found by statistical analysis of the verb tenses used in the Genesis account of creation that it's about the least poetic passage in all the Old Testament. It was written as sober narrative history and was meant to be understood by its readers as history. Of course, even if it were poetry, it doesn't mean it's not to be believed. Who says God can't write with flair? But he wrote Genesis as a sober historical account, and we need to believe it as such. Let's go back to Genesis and get it right.
For more on the foundational principles set forth in Genesis, visit us on the web at www.icr.org.
You're listening to Crosstalk on the VCY American Network. Pastor Richard Schmidt with us here today from Union Grove Baptist Church and founder of Prophecy Focus Ministries, their website prophecyfocus.org. And turning our attention now to this matter of artificial intelligence, of which he has greatly studied this topic as well. And friends, today I'd like to begin with a clip from Elon Musk that we shared just a few weeks ago on Crosstalk. This is when he referred to AI performing Jesus-level miracles. Let's listen to what he said.
I think some kind of brain-machine interface that can give you cybernetic superpowers, I think, is probably good. It could, help people that have brain or spine injuries. Enable people who've never spoken for years to speak again, which we've done. Give people eyesight who have lost both eyes or the optic nerve, or maybe have never even seen at all, blind from birth, by direct interface to the optical centers in the brain. You can actually restore eyesight or give people eyesight that they've never had before. And you can enable people to walk again, which I think is profound. I mean, these are kind of Jesus-level things, let's say like when technologies are hitting like Jesus-level miracles,
Yeah, friends, I wanted to air that clip again. It's a recent clip to show the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence, that it's underway. And on this topic, I first conducted an interview with you, Pastor Schmidt, just less than 3 years ago on your book, Artificial Intelligence, subtitled Transhumanism and the De-Evolution of Democracy. That was in September of 2023, but your first chapter deals with the 10 levels of AI. And if I recall when we spoke, you were suggesting we were somewhere between level 5 and level 6 at that time. Level 10, the highest level, is what's called godlike AI. And here it is being declared, AI to do Jesus-level miracles.
Well, again, quite frankly, that's way overstated from the development of Neuralink, Elon Musk. He is doing some wonderful things, and quite frankly, some of the technological advances, things that are going to literally help people that have severe disabilities, I'm all for that. But he needs to be a little bit cautious. Actually, there's about 4 to 5 other different levels before you get to what is known as this godlike AI situation, which I don't believe will ever take place. That's the dream of people like Elon Musk and others. So the issue is we're still just barely into where we're getting to artificial general intelligence. That is still basically being developed. Artificial intelligence, even though it's tremendously advanced, is still stuck. Only one major subject can be done by a specific artificial intelligence at a time. So there's different artificial intelligence databases that do various different things. But again, what Elon is talking about, and that's partly why I wrote that book, is because the transhumanism thing is basically where our normal body parts are actually, they become digitalized, or we come up with different types of prosthetics or things that literally can put a body that's deteriorated back together. So again, science is doing some wonderful things, but basically compared to what Jesus can do through a miraculous healing of the physical body is a bit of a stretch.
It is, but this is a goal. These are statements we're hearing, and I saw a June 7th article on Slay News spoke of this prominent Silicon Valley investor who is sounding the alarm over what he believes may be the true goal behind the artificial intelligence race, the creation of a super intelligent entity capable of surpassing and ultimately governing humanity. This is venture capitalist Bill Gurley, one of the technology industry's most influential investors, said, quote, "The more I dig, I've met people who I dare say think it's their responsibility, and they're excited about building a species far superior to humans. I don't think that they think about their writing software. I think they're midwifing a deity here."
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And actually, this has been a major, major issue that's been coming down through those that are developing artificial intelligence. In fact, Elon himself has been one of the biggest critics of AI in order to not get to the point that was just stated there, and some of the things that now he's saying is a little bit contradictory to that. But artificial intelligence is getting so powerful, so advanced that, again, there are things that it can do in absolute rapid fashion that is impossible for a human being to do. Well, if it gets to the point where just don't think about data, but think about what happens when it's involved in security, what happens when it's involved in autonomous weapons. And we've been seeing some of that in the Middle East when you have drones and they're able to make decisions on their own instead of a human being do it. So again, if AI is running things and running our security and running our military and so forth, that's a very dangerous situation.
And one more point on this. Earlier this year, there was a tech company by the name of Just Like Me launched an app that allows users to chat with an AI-generated version of Jesus Christ for guidance, for a fee, of course. But this is something that you and I talked about as well, an AI Jesus. And there are those that are coming forth, even in recent weeks and months, to really try to thrust this forth. And one has to wonder who is programming this AI Jesus.
Right. And again, it's a huge issue, and there's psychological terms and being used, of course, by those that are programming it. There might be some Bible basis, but again, there's going to be liberal bias that are involved with the majority of this. It's very interesting that one of the statistics came out, 72% of all teenagers are now engaging with AI as far as AI companionship, going to it for advice and what should I be doing as in whatever situation they're facing. 72% of these children, teenagers, are now buying into AI versus a parent or a psychologist or a pastor or, if you will, a professional. 50% are doing it virtually, continuously, almost every day. So it's a massive move towards, instead of going back to traditional values, traditional morality, traditional ethics, if you're getting stuck on some of these AI that, as you said, are being programmed by those that have a liberal, anti-biblical bend, even if they're calling it AI Jesus, it may not have no biblical bend at all.
Right, and yet people will take it as being Jesus, as being gospel truth, and hence there's even warning to the pastor who says, "Oh my, I got behind this week. AI, I need a message dealing with this topic from this passage. Can you generate that for me?"
Yeah, and this is a critical issue right now. Every single discipline that uses AI, including pastors, and we can go down the ranks of anyone that has to do research, AI will be more than happy to generate whatever you ask it to. The problem is that when you ask AI to build your sermon, number one, it's basically who needs the pastor if he's not going to do his work and spend time with the Lord and just get a fake message that was put out by some AI machine. But the other big thing is that if you're that lazy that you're not willing to do the work, AI makes mistakes. There's no doubt about it. So again, using AI has certain wonderful advantages, but if you're using it to become your spiritual advisor and you're using it to potentially do your work instead of doing the work that should be done by a human being to verify the research, it's a problem.
I know there's a number of issues that are coming forth with AI as well, and saw a story from the American Security Fund reporting that terrorists are weaponizing AI to spread anti-Semitic propaganda and using AI to recruit new members to it.
Right. And again, what's really interesting, and again, most people have probably run into this. Most of our phones will tell you if spam is coming in, but some of the phone calls now are getting so sophisticated where the AI literally is generating a chat with the person, and you really don't know that it's not a person until all of a sudden it trips up or it says something it shouldn't. Well, the same thing's happening when it comes to propaganda, getting out these anti-Semitic statements. You'll find it on YouTube, other social media things where all this AI is being generated, and it's really pushing an agenda, including anti-Semitism, which, again, for those not familiar with the word, it's basically anti-Jew, anti-Israel propaganda that's just massive right now.
Yeah, it really is. And also saw, and you were just talking about the deception that's there. Just this past Saturday, Slay News reported that one of the world's leading digital forensics experts is sounding the alarm after admitting that AI has become so powerful that even seasoned specialists can no longer reliably tell what is real and what is fake.
Right, and boy, that's a real problem. In fact, mentioning that from a law enforcement perspective, there was just a story out recently that AI was used with facial recognition, and they made an arrest based on that facial recognition. And unfortunately, the AI was wrong. So this person was arrested, put in jail, charged with a crime, and 100% based on AI. So, again, we need to...
And totally innocent.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, the person was released, and quite frankly, he's probably got a good lawsuit now against the government for that. So, again, AI has advantages. It has some wonderful qualities, but AI is not perfect, and it's going to make mistakes, and it's going to give you fake news at times, and that's a very, very important issue that needs to be looked at and needs to be have oversight over it.
Isn't that, though, how Satan operates? He's the devil, the deceiver, transforms himself as an angel of light?
Absolutely, and we go right back to Genesis chapter 3. Genesis 2, God said everything was very good. Mm-hmm. Then in pops Satan, who rebels against God, tempts Eve to eat the forbidden tree. Next thing you know, the whole world has crashed. Adam has crashed. He eats from the forbidden tree. And, of course, the entire world ends up with the sin nature.
I know you brought lots of material in talking on this matter of AI. What are some things that you believe are important for our listeners to know concerning AI, where it's going, where we're at with this, and even cautions? Like you say, there's good things that can come from artificial intelligence, but there is much warning as well.
There is. Well, let's go to what's taking place with the government right now, which is really where some of the key issues are. President Trump has been very, very pro-AI, as has Melania been when it comes to using AI for education. But here's the main areas. Now, this is pretty comprehensive. The president is really pushing 7 major areas for AI to be utilized. Number 1 is finance, healthcare, education, defense, immigration, enforcement, government operations, and government identity systems. Basically, what we're saying is every single piece of the government is now being advanced by artificial intelligence. Again, I brought up a couple of years ago when the president was first inaugurated, first thing he had, major news conference where he brought in the Stargate project, a $500 billion project to make massive data warehouses, whereby what was the point? To get all of the Americans' data into this massive database, which has been started. Many of those buildings have already gone up. And what's the point? To know what every person is doing, what are their demographics, what are their medical records. The selling point was that this will eventually help diagnose issues before they happen medically and other things that will enhance the American public. Well, again, there's pros and negatives.
Okay, friends, we'll come back to more of this after the break. Dr. Richard Schmidt is with us today. ProphecyFocus.org is a website, and we'll also be sharing with you how you can obtain a copy of his book on artificial intelligence. Stay with us. Back in a minute here on Crosstalk.
Are you aware of past crises when America's fate hung desperately in the balance? The French and Indian War, the Revolution, the Civil War, and in other national events. Leaders in our country called the nation to prayer. In the book, Miracles in American History, author Susie Federer recounts 32 amazing stories of answered prayer. Read about events like the winter at Valley Forge, the Boston Tea Party, dense fog that appeared, allowing 8,000 troops to escape, the Star-Spangled Banner, and other events where prayer had an impact. You'll also learn when Apollo 13 was lost in space and what happened after the president called the nation to prayer. Volume 1 of Miracles in American History is available for a donation of $20, or Volumes 1 and 2 with additional stories for a donation of $35. Call 1-800-729-9829.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America. Dr. Richard Schmidt is with us here today on the broadcast, and certainly talking about the matter of artificial intelligence, transhumanism, and the de-evolution of democracy. And friends, if some of you are listening right now said, I'm just lost on this topic already, he has put together just a powerful book on this topic called Artificial Intelligence, and we are making this available. Our way of saying thank you for your support of $18 or more to Crosstalk. This is something that has, as I'm reading from the back of the book, artificial intelligence is changing life. There's an undeniable movement, both domestically and internationally, to propel humanity toward a new advanced level of existence. Dr. Schmidt spotlights the rapid trajectory some are seeking in order to change the culture of society. Folks, the book it goes through those 10 levels and gives you an understanding of not only where we are, but where AI is going as well. And if you'd like to obtain a copy of this, simply I'll give you a website as well as a phone number. Online, you can go to vcy.org, vcy.org, and find the book there called Artificial Intelligence. Or to obtain a copy, you may reach out to our switchboard. Again, our way of saying thank you for your support of $18 or more to Crosstalk by calling 800-729-9829. That's 1-800-729-9829. Dr. Schmidt, there is so much on this issue that we do want to talk about, but let's talk about several items here. One of those deals with what's called flock cameras. That's become a greater issue today. Define for us, what is flock cameras and how are they being utilized today?
Well, Flock Safety is basically an organization that has 80,000 AI-powered cameras around the country right now. Back when I was with the Sheriff's Office, one of the things that we would use is digital license plate readers, other digital concepts. And basically the concept was to be able to know who has a driver's license, who doesn't. Is the license plate expired? Is there some type of criminal activity involved with a specific car? The problem that is now coming up is because this is so expansive, there's more than 5,000 law enforcement agencies that use this equipment in 49 different states. Well, it can not only do such things as read license plate, it can look at a car, it can tell by what color it is, the literal where a dent is on the car, scrapes are, broken windows, even bumper stickers. Things like this that it's a very, very sophisticated surveillance tool. Well, of course, from a law enforcement standpoint, wow, that's a great positive thing. Unfortunately, though, many people are pushing back on this, saying it's a violation of their security and their
privacy.
Privacy, that's the word I'm looking for. And this is a $7.5 billion company now that is literally permeating the United States. So again, was the intent to be used for good? I believe so. Good stuff, good for law enforcement. But on the other hand, there's these privacy issues that keep coming up with the Fourth Amendment rights, basically, which is the Fourth Amendment being search and seizure, unreasonable. So is it reasonable that all these things are being collected by government agencies or subsidiaries thereof? And is it really infringing on the American public? So that's an issue.
Okay, so one of the things is there's no human that could sit down and start watching all the videotape, but all of this information gets fed into a computer that can automatically spit out if something is not proper with the vehicle, or if they're looking for a particular license number, immediately can pinpoint where that vehicle is.
Right, and that's the good point. Let me just give one quick bad example to make it a little clearer. So if there's a particular officer that's looking, let's say, for a particular female or male that they just want to link up with and has nothing to do with law enforcement, they can use, and it has been used nefariously, to do things that they shouldn't be doing. So again, that's the problem we face in America. Everything can be good, but it can also be bad.
Okay, so let's pause here for a moment and look prophetically speaking here as well. This kind of power and authority is something that the Antichrist no doubt will make use of.
Absolutely. Revelation 13 is the key chapter on this, and it goes through the satanic trinity, which is basically made up Satan, Antichrist, and the person known as the false prophet. In Revelation chapter 13, starting at verse 11, it talks about an image that's going to be made, which will literally have the ability to track every single person in the world. If you read the text, it says it knows who will and who will not be worshiping the Antichrist through whatever this image is. Well, again, many of my fellow prophecy teachers and I have certainly adopted the position that based on what is available now through artificial intelligence, this image in all likelihood is going to be something derived with an artificial intelligence ability that literally will be able to track every single person in the world, and it absolutely will know if they are worshiping or not worshiping the Antichrist. Unfortunately, the penalty, the Bible says, by the Antichrist will be death to anyone that does not worship that image. So this sophistication of artificial intelligence, it's coming because the Bible predicts it.
I've interviewed from time to time Tom DeWeese here on this program talking about the data centers and their proliferation across this country and the complaints that are rising from these and also that invasion of privacy. You as well have seen the proliferation of these data centers.
Absolutely. And again, we go back to the Stargate project we mentioned a little bit earlier, $500 billion. Now, here's what's happening. There's been a little bit of change since President Trump first started this. The data centers have become absolutely staggering as far as the cost goes. They were starting out with this $500 billion figure, but between the energy consumption, building the buildings, getting the computers set up, it's really becoming more expensive than even the big boys thought, so to speak. There's one, and I'll just mention this because it's just in the starting phases. Many people I have heard the term quantum computing. Quantum computing is not advanced to the place where it actually is working, but here's the goal. Quantum computing is literally going to replace a lot of the work that these data centers have done. Unbelievably fast computers, many, many times faster than what exists today. But this development is coming, and some of these data centers are actually paring down right now, hoping that this quantum computing will actually come to pass.
My, it's staggering. I mean, we put a question into a search engine on a computer, and just, within a second, you've got thousands or millions of hits that are coming up instantaneously. Also want to just have you look at some of the challenges pertaining to this AI aspect as well. And part of it comes with a warning, too. We'll have you share some things with us, but I also saw warnings from both the New York Post, the Christian Post have warned about the AI chatbot Grok, which has generated sexual images of minors due to lapses in safeguards, and that AI can undress individuals, certainly without their consent as well. This whole aspect of the perverseness is very much realistic through AI.
Yeah, the perversion is off the charts. Now let's look at what is taking place in the American public today. As a pastor, as one that was involved in law enforcement, one of the huge, massive problems, it's the plague of our society right now, is pornography. Pornography is just rampant. We're dealing with it constantly, and we're talking about little children all the way through senior citizens. This stuff exists, and it's just been a scourge on our society. It's almost unbelievable now that the mind has become so perverted that not only are people getting inundated with pornography, but now they're getting into AI-generated pornography, which you just mentioned. You constantly quote the verse, the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. The perversion rate in America, including, I hate to say, even within the Christian church, is just massive. We're at a critical level of these horrible things taking place. So the church needs revival. I don't know what you do with all the unsaved folks that don't know Christ, because their mind just doesn't latch onto that which is biblical and right and righteous. But we have a major issue coming, and I would say the problem of rape, the problem of indiscretion and adultery and fornication, all the other things, it's just off the charts right now because all this is being pushed every single day by AI.
I know also there's great concern. There have been, just last Friday, Microsoft's flagship AI platform Copilot has been caught helping hackers steal sensitive user data. There's Meta's AI chatbot was exposed for allowing attackers to gain access to other users' Instagram accounts, and there's just no limit to where this will go.
No, there isn't. And unfortunately, when people think that their data is secure and their information is secure, it's only as secure as the latest hackers' tools. The ability to hack things, to figure out passwords. This software exists. I mean, let's be honest, law enforcement and the military have been using it for decades, and now it's becoming so sophisticated and easy to get for the average person. A hacker that wants to get into a company, that wants to get into bank records, I mean, this is becoming more and more of a problem. I don't know, many of our listeners, I'm sure, have gotten a letter from one or more companies that their data is in, and they say, oh, we're sorry, but you've had a breach. So these things are definitely problematic.
Friends, our phone number to Crosstalk today is 1-800-733-9829. 1-800-733-9829. As we talk about these rapid advancements going on with artificial intelligence today, Dr. Richard Schmidt is our guest. His program, Prophecy Focus, you can see on vcy.tv, available on demand, vcy.tv, also over the air on WVCY in Milwaukee. His website, prophecyfocus.org. And we'll take your questions and or brief comments today, 800-733-9829. But this whole matter of AI, Pastor, as you were talking, and we're talking about how evil is proliferating using this, my mind went back to the scripture, the passage talking about as it was in the days of Noah. And we see in Genesis chapter 6 about how man's heart is doing every wicked imagination, that he came up with. Whatever he imagined and devised, that's what was being carried out. Isn't that where this is heading to as well?
Well, it is. And again, as you stated, this is a prophetic scenario that we're setting the stage for with artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. When you look at the perversions that are happening across the country and being able to steal data, being able to surveil people, being able to use facial recognition in a good way and also in a very bad way to track people, all of this, again, is going towards Revelation 13, where there will be a one world religion, one world government, and a one world religious government system.
So, friends, much that is before us here, but certainly the importance of knowing Jesus Christ as your Savior is so very critical. I believe that time is coming soon for the Lord Jesus' return. Taking your calls here today, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come to your questions or brief comments. Our number, 800-733-9829. That's 800-733-9829. If you'd like to get a copy of the book, Artificial Intelligence, we're making it available for donation of $18 or more. Simply go to vcy.org or call our switchboard at 800-729-9829. We'll be back in 1 minute. This is Crosstalk on VCY America.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewtube.com. Revolver News, which tends to be a little bit more of a conservative news site, had a headline on June 20th, 2026. Trump's ready to reopen mental institutions, and liberals are furious. They seem to be praising the idea. Well, I want to bring a word of caution, because what one administration does with maybe good intentions can certainly be hijacked by another administration. Now, we do have a lot of people, homeless people in homeless camps and people on the street that have abuse problems, substance abuse, alcohol, drugs. Some people are folks that suffer with autism and other mental handicaps, and they should be helped. But do we really want the government forcing people into mental hospitals, forcing them like prisoners? No, because it's not a long stretch to be called a domestic terrorist or mentally ill as a Christian or conservative. Think hard, Americans.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America and looking at the advancement of AI. It's going so very, very quick. And a number of you online right now, so we'll go right to the phone calls. Ryan is calling from Dodgeville, Wisconsin. Ryan, you're on the air.
Well, God bless you both for doing what you do to alert people to what's going on. I live in Wisconsin, and there have been communities fighting these because they use huge amount of electricity. Their light bill goes up, and they use millions of gallons of water for cooling, okay? And it's a setup for the Antichrist. You guys are spot on. All the information will be in place. But what about undeveloped countries that don't have these systems? Okay. Your thoughts on that? Thank you, and God bless.
Great, thank you.
Well, you brought up a couple of good points. There's right now in 2025, 31 gigawatts of power was needed. Now we're up to double that to 66 gigawatts just to take care of the AI centers. Right now, 6% of all electricity is used to take care of AI issues. And right now, the annual global spending on data centers is at $1 trillion. So you bring up a very good point. Underdeveloped countries, what I would predict, and this is educated speculation, that in order for the Antichrist, again, in the future, looking at it from a biblical perspective, AI is going to somehow get into all countries, whether they're developed or not. And the billions and billions and trillions of dollars that are being invested in this, they will definitely come up with the technology to do that.
And we're talking about Elon Musk right now, talking about having orbital data centers that are going to, encompass the Earth.
And that's very true. It's amazing the number of satellites that Elon Musk and others have up in the air. And from a government perspective, they can pinpoint something as small as a person's face from space. So all these things, the technology exists, and it'll expand into the third world countries.
Mark in Tucson, Arizona, you're on the air.
Yeah, I have this big concern. The Bible encourages us to be Bereans. Mm-hmm. So you had mentioned a little earlier, and again, I'm not saying it's what the guy would do all the time, just maybe in a quick fix situation, but to go into AI to find some sort of information, like for a Bible sermon. My concern in all this is if in fact people remain or are biblically illiterate and their reliance is on AI, they're subjecting themselves for what I think is a perfect opportunity for the enemy to create the doctrine of demons. All you have to do is make a little twist here and a turn there and turn truth into fallacy. And these people, like I said, if they don't do their homework or they're not properly instructed, they're just going to go on,
Mark, thank you so much for that. I'm going to have Pastor comment.
Well, Mark, you get my Hero of the Day award because what you said is one of the major issues. One of the three major things we teach at Union Grove Baptist Church is biblical literacy. And the issue that you just brought up about biblical illiteracy is a crisis epidemic in Christian churches today. So in other words, AI is not the answer. Study, 2 Timothy 2:15, tells us to study to show ourselves approved unto God. Workmen and workwomen, and we'll add that are not ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. You hit it on the head.
Thank you, Mark. Fred in Wisconsin, you're on the air.
Hi, it's Fred from Hawthorne. Say, I'm an engineer, and I've noticed that there's a new company, Maxwell Labs, out of St. Paul, Minnesota. They come up with new technology for the chips, self-cooling chips, so you don't need water. Plus, they also recover power. And then the longevity problem is also solved because after 2 years they have to shut these data centers down. Won't have to do it anymore. The problem is NVIDIA is not adopting this technology, but the Indiana National Labs and the DOA are going to use for military applications. But I think it should be used for these AIs. We'll see what happens. 2027 is when they start producing this new chip.
Thank you, Fred.
Well, again, technology is going to keep advancing. We made mention of the Stargate project, which is being pulled back some because of the massive expense involved, as well as the massive amount of electricity. So we can expect there to be some developments, and we'll just keep watching.
Thank you for the call, Fred. Let's go to Craig in Madison, South Dakota. And Craig, you're on the air.
Hello. Yeah, great topic today. My couple thoughts. One is, remember the narrative on COVID, how we had to do, the thing, shut the country down, lock the kids out of school, get your shot. This narrative on these and artificial intelligence and data centers reminds me a lot of that same push. We don't have time to think. We just got to do it. So that makes me very suspicious, number one, because it just feels the same, that push.
Okay.
And there's a large data center being built in Ellendale, North Dakota, and, part of that narrative about we have to beat China, I know a person that lives very close to this one being built in North Dakota and said there is 3,000 workers from all over the world, and many of them are from China. So that pretty well defeats that narrative right there, that we got to beat China. We're letting Chinese workers build these things.
Craig, thanks for the call. Dr. Schmidt, any comments?
Well, it's interesting because we know artificial intelligence is not only going to be controlling a localized thing, but just like with COVID, it's going to be a worldwide expansion. And we're seeing that all nations now, all major countries have AI investments going that do facial recognition, body recognition, fingerprints, iris scans. All these things are in place. So COVID was maybe a precursor, but you haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, nothing yet. We're down to 30 seconds here on the program. We're not going to be able to grab another phone call in, but what would you like to leave with our listeners today?
Well, the issue is, again, AI has some tremendous positive things that can be done. But as we examine these things, don't get caught up in an AI Jesus. Don't get caught up in AI Bibles and all this other nonsense that's coming out. Stick with God's word. Do not bend. Do not vary from what God has said. There are always going to be these other challenges with surveillance, with government issues, with medical issues, with economic issues. But one thing remains constant and cannot change, and that's God's word.
Amen. Amen. Pastor Schmidt, thanks for being with us today.
Well, thanks so much.
Dr. Richard Schmidt, our guest today here on Crosstalk. Again, his website, prophecyfocus.org. You can catch his program at vcy.tv, vcy.tv. But friends, keep alert to these matters that are taking place. If you'd like to obtain a copy of his book on artificial intelligence, you can reach out to our switchboard here at 800-729-9829 or vcy.org. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Tape Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208, or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.